hardest question I feel like I'm having to answer right now is,
what do I do next?
I spent 6 weeks traveling throughout South Korea. I visited 10 cities and provinces and several children's libraries, as well as the Seoul International Book Fair. Even before leaving to Korea, I did a short research trip to Koreatown in LA, where I visited 3 different children's bookstores in preparation for my trip to South Korea. I have also been reading Daphne Zor's Figuring Korean Futures in order to get a foundation in the history of children's literature in South Korea. And lastly, I've also been making connections with scholars within the field of Korean studies. As a result of this question, I want to spend this video planning out my next step so that I have a record for myself, as well as developing a template for you all who might be interested in understanding how to go about developing an academic research project. I want to start off by doing a 5-minute free write in order to jot down any notes that you want to take from your mind to the page. Feel free to type out your notes or to write them down in a notebook. Our 5 minutes starts now. trying to share my free write with you, and I would encourage you to share your free write as well, either in the comments or if you would like to email me, you can find my email address in the description box below. What Korea taught me is how little I know and think about children's literature outside of a US framework. And to a certain extent, that makes sense. So much of my previous work has been thinking about children's literature within the US. But as I move forward with this project, I really want to begin to decenter the US and explore more non-US based writers. Which brings me to my second reflection point, and that is before this trip, I could not name one Korean children's book author. Of course, I can name Korean American authors like Tae Keller and Jessica Kim, but I could not name Korean writers like Won Suk or Hina Baek or Yoon Bok-jin. And another thing I learned is how little I actually know about the history of the US and South Korea in terms of international relations. I have visited Korean war memorials in the past, but have never taken the time to understand what caused the war and what are the results that still have an impact on our current US-South Korea policies today. And lastly, I'm going to have to pay more attention to my identity as a scholar within Black cultural studies and how that is going to impact this new work that will generally fall within Korean studies. In other words, I have a lot of catching up to do in terms of the history and current conversations that are happening within Korean studies. Now that we have these initial thoughts written down, let's spend another 5 minutes jotting down 3 beginner goals that can help us move forward in our corresponding research projects. Our 5 minutes starts now. going to share my 3 goals with you. And again, feel free to share your goals with me. I would love to help to keep you accountable so that you can also reach your research goals. My first main goal is to write an article about Korean children's literature for an academic journal. My second goal is to find potential sources to fund this ongoing research project. And my final goal is to simply get better at Korean. Now with that, let's get planning. As you can see here, I am using a template developed by one of my colleagues, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. I have adapted it specifically for me regarding this project. However, I will leave the full template for you in the description box below. Since this is an academic research project, it's really good to think about doing research according to the academic school cycle. So specifically, I've divided everything up for the months that fall within fall 2023. So in August, I want to start looking at potential journals that might be interested in publishing the kind of article I'm thinking about writing. I also want to finish reading Figuring Korean Futures. Then in September, I want to read 2 articles about Korean children's literature or Asian children's literature more broadly. Then in October, November, and December, I want to focus my attention on reading specifically these 3 books that I think will help move my project along, or at least give me a kind of foundational understanding of what kinds of research questions am I asking. Regarding funding, I want to find grants, fellowships, and stipends to help fund the ongoing costs of this project. That could mean talking to the chair of my department. That could also mean talking to my college's research coordinator about potential fellowships or stipends. That could also mean looking up funding opportunities in various Korean studies departments, as well as checking on the Korean government website to see if they have any research funds or research stipends for foreign researchers. I also want to look up the NEH summer stipend. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to apply this year. However, I do plan on applying for my college's micro grant. I would encourage you to check to see if there are any small grant opportunities in your college or university. Whichever grants I do apply for, I want to make sure that they are completed and submitted by October. And then in November and December, I don't plan on applying to any more grants. I first want to see if I can get 1 or 2, which will then give me the confidence to feel like, oh, this project is fundable, and therefore I can move forward with looking for larger grant opportunities. For my research goal number 3 regarding getting better at Korean, I want to spend August and September meeting weekly with my tutor, and then in October, November, and December, be able to read aloud the 3 books that are going to start off this research project. And in my last column, you can see that I put in my rewards if I'm able to accomplish my goals. I think putting in rewards is really important. So for me, if I accomplish my August goals, I want to purchase some new headphones. My headphones are really old and I use them for editing and also for dictation. So I do want to treat myself to some nicer headphones. If you have any suggestions for headphones, definitely let me know in the comments below. Then my rewards for September, October, and November is to allow myself to eat out. I rarely eat out, and having an opportunity to have a reason to treat myself to a nice vegan meal would be great. So those are my rewards there. And then for the month of December, I want to sign up for Viki, which is an online streaming platform with a lot of Asia-based content. And if I am able to accomplish all of my goals as well as my goals in December, I will allow myself to purchase a month's worth of the online streaming, especially since this is during winter break, where I will have ample, keeping my fingers crossed, that I will have the time and opportunity to binge as much Korea-based content over winter break. So those are my goals for fall 2023. Please keep me accountable. I think it'll be good to make a post-semester recap about all of the goals that I'm going to accomplish this fall, and I will make sure to share them with you. Thanks for joining me in this Plan With Me video, and I will see you in the next one.